television kids all grown up today. The Brady Bunch ran for 5 years from 1969 to 1974. Today it is in syndication around the world, so most likely 24 hours a day the Brady Bunch is playing somewhere in the world. Now, Barry, in your book you said while you were on the show you were attracted to Florence Henderson, who played your mom, Carol. In fact, you were so attracted to her that you eventually asked her out on a date. We want to know what happened on that date, don't we? Yeah. Okay, we're going to bring Mom out. Please welcome Florence Henderson. Florence Henderson without thinking about her being soaking wet and our last visit together in the rain in Florida.
Yes, and you know, Sally, can I just say about that? When we got on that plane, you talked about the plane ride. Well, you know how wet we were. We all went in that little trailer. You put us in that little trailer, and Susan Olsen and Eve Plum said, "There's a gas leak in here. It's terrible. It's a terrible smell. Maybe we're going to blow up or something." And I went, "No, it's my perm." Boy, did I stink.
You know, I think that the actors, the young actors, kids on the Brady Bunch were very, very lucky to be able to work with a seasoned pro like Florence Henderson. Okay, let's go right to it. Barry, set this up for us. How did your date come about?
Well, first
and
of all,
when did you notice you were first attracted?
Well, can I just say one thing in defense of my son? He didn't inhale.
Just an experiment.
How to say it?
We make a cute couple, I think. Now listen, if you...
Yeah, and now you're beginning to look older than I do, so I think it's great.
I'm telling you, you take the apron off this woman and take away the image of the of America's best mom, and what you have is one very, very healthy, sexy lady.
Right.
And...
Wow.
This did not escape my 15-year-old attention. So I had said, I'd asked her out. She's a singer. I knew that I had wanted to, at some point, sing myself. And I didn't know where I would go, but I decided on this ultra-swanky club in Los Angeles called the Coconut Grove. There was a singer coming in, some Mediterranean crooner.
Rougon.
Yeah. And I asked her to go, if she would come with me to the show, and she graciously said yes. And that's how it started.
This is while the show is running, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
The show is very
Mom and son are dating. You don't think
I was not yet 16 years old.
And I was commuting from New York to L.A., so that's why I was there alone without my husband and my 4 children. And the problem was that Barry could not drive. Now, you know, it's kind of like Rosh Hashanah, you know, how people remember stories differently from their own viewpoint. His brother, as I recall, Craig, drove him to my hotel in his car.
That's right.
And then I drove us to our date at the Coconut Grove. That's how I remembered it. That's close?
I don't remember that part of it. I remember driving his car.
Do you?
Oh, yes, because I had to learn how to drive his car because it was one of those muscle-bound Formula 400 Firebirds, and it had this ridiculous clutch, and it was impossible, really difficult for me to drive, and I wanted to be the big man of the day.
Well, Barry, at that age, you know, when he talked about tripping, Barry had feet, I swear. He was always tripping over his feet. He was clumsy, but he was the cutest kid that I think I have ever seen. Did he kiss you good night? Did he kiss me good night? Did he kiss me good night? I'll just tell you. Did he? Yes. But Sally, I think this book really could be subtitled Barry's Raging Hormones. That's kind of what it's about.
See, the question, Sally, you didn't ask is, did I kiss her again in the morning? All right, I'm sorry, I won't talk about it.
Barry is still having raging hormones,
yeah.
right?
Well, you know, the interesting thing about this story, and it's made the world press, people would love to believe that Barry and I had sex. That's what people would love to believe, honestly. And they get so disappointed when I say no. And they, oh, well, of course you, oh, you did, of course you did. And I said, look, hey, I'm not Roseanne. I don't do all these crazy things. I don't talk about my life, you know, in public. Let's say even if I did that.
You wouldn't talk about it.
Why would I talk about
I agree.
it? You know, I mean, how stupid.
I wasn't disappointed. I'm so naive that I just loved the idea you went out on a date.
Exactly.
Well, and that's exactly what it was. And it was so much fun to watch this kid trying to, you know, we didn't get a good table because the maitre d' didn't recognize us right off. And poor Barry felt so badly. And I said, well, maybe if you go up, if you give him a couple of bucks or something. You know, I'm trying to, and...
Which she suggested. I had no idea. I said, of course, tip the man. Give him some money, grease his palm. Like I'd watched it on James Bond movies. But the thing, I had no idea how much to give this guy to get a good table, but I didn't want to take any chances. Most I'd ever given anybody was $1 to park a car. So I took out 3 $1 bills, thinking this would for sure do it. And I handed this guy the $3, he counted it, and he looked at me, and I don't know if he was just being nice or had finally recognized her, but he said, come with me, and we traipsed back down through the coconut grove, had a beautiful table. Of course, people were now starting to wonder why this woman was with this young man, why Carol was dating Greg, but...
Did you know he was, I mean, there's that thing in the book about, did you know that he was interested in you?
Playing around with lollipops.
Oh, she's referring to that, the network still pictures.
Oh.
We're given this ridiculous
First of all, people have to
lollipop.
understand, if you see me on television for years and years and years, I'm pretty much myself on television. When I'm not playing a character, I grew up in a very large family. I'm the youngest of 10. I grew up on a farm. I'm a rather earthy person, and anyone that knows me knows I love to tell stories, I love to tell jokes, and I love to make people laugh. And I have a sense of humor about sex and life and most things like that. So I'm just prefacing what I hope you're not going to tell.
He is. He's going to tell about the lollipops.
Well,
Yes.
I think we're into it now. We had been given these, we were doing our still photos for the first year of the show, very young. We were all kind of meeting and getting to know each other. And some prop personality brought out these enormous lollipops. And we were kind of holding them and seeing what we could or could not do with them. And I said, look at this thing. It would take 10 hours to suck this thing down to nothing. And that's a long time to suck on anything. At which everyone went dead quiet. Here's a 14-year-old kid, like, making these jokes that were sort of out of line and out of bounds. And it was like this really long pause. And then she said, not for me, it isn't. And broke the ice. And I looked over, rescued, and we've been friends ever since.
We have been.
And you are earthy. That's absolutely right. We're going to allow you to ask, we're going to hope you ask them questions. And when we come back, they were the TV darlings of the 80s, those private school girls who asked for help from Mrs. Garrett on the show Facts of Life. Mrs. Garrett is Charlotte Ray. And she will be reunited with Lisa Welchel, who played Blair. Don't go away. Just joining us, we're talking with your favorite TV sitcom child stars and their mothers from the 60s, 70s, and 80s who are now all grown up. Florence Henderson now does a cooking show, 7 years. And Barry is singing in City of Angels. I think he's the lead. Are you not the lead?
Yes, I play Detective Stone.
Sorry.
The Facts of Life is one of America's favorite TV shows for 9 years, 1980, 1989. And we watched Blair, Joe, Natalie, and Tootie grow up and seek some sound advice from the house mother, Mrs. Garrett, while they were boarders at this private girls' school. Well, we have Mrs. Garrett and Blair. And what have they been up to all these years? Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Charlotte Ray and Lisa Welchel. that you guys get together often to see each other. Are you still close?
Yes, we are. We feel very close. They were over at my house for lunch when I saw Tucker, that's Lisa's little boy, the most handsome little boy you ever saw, a regular fella. And she had her little second child in the oven at the time. And
now we see each other, and I have the third child in the oven.
Yes! Isn't that
So
wonderful?
you are married to...
Steve Cobble.
All right.
Regular guy, works at a church in California, not an actor.
And you have 2 children and one...
Right,
I'm
one on the
assuming
way.
that's a maternity thing?
Yes.
Great, great, absolutely great. In the episodes, though, there was one where they wanted you to lose your virginity, and you said no?
Yes, well, I did. You know, so many of the young girls watched our show, and they really did listen to us. They looked up to us. They listened to Mrs. Garrett, and you know, I wasn't going to take that responsibility, because even if they said, well, we'll have a lot of people on there saying no, don't, you know, so much of television is just by, you know, just by example, and this is okay, and girls do this. It is condoning it, whether it's, you know, subliminal or not. And so I didn't want to, you know, that responsibility on my shoulders with so many young girls, because it does bring a lot of destruction, you know, to a lot of young girls, and that wasn't why I started acting in the first place.
Lisa, are you acting now?
No, I'm not.
You're mommy?
Just
the role is mommy?
being a mom, it's full time.
Hooray for that! I just wanted to say that so many people seem so embarrassed when they say they want to be a housewife, they're just going to be a housewife and a mother. And I don't understand why they feel that way, because that's the most wonderful role in life. And I don't know why they should feel ashamed.
It was every intention was to go back to work. But now, especially that my son is too, I'm realizing that I mean, if I want to instill in him the values that I think are important, then I have to do it every day, every hour, and not leave it up to somebody else to do.
Speaking of values, Charlotte, you were also with the kids were on Facts of Life, and a lot of those kids got into trouble. What is the difference between the Facts of Life kids didn't get in trouble and the Different Strokes kids did? What was the difference?
Well, I'm just going to change the subject, because it's too difficult to say, really.
No, I'm not.
They were
asking
wonderful boys. I was with them for about 1.5 years, and they were very young, and I had a wonderful relationship with them, because I have 2 sons, and I felt like, well, we were just growing up all over again together. And I wasn't with them when they were in trouble and whatever was unfolding, so that I really can't participate in that. I really can't.
Sure. I was just asking because we had been discussing how an awful lot of the kids that grow up in the TV limelight get in trouble, and yet the ones you don't hear about are the ones that I guess are happily married to a minister. And
Sally, I would just like to say that in defense of television and child actors, I mean, I think our kids have turned out fairly well, but kids all over this country are in terrible trouble. A lot of them have been to jail. A lot of them have drug problems. They're not on television. We just don't hear about them. So, you know, I have to defend us just a little bit.
all right, when we come back, Sissy and Jody from the popular TV show Family Affair. They have not seen each other in over 20 years. Today, we're going to put them together, and if they hate each other, I'm in real trouble. We'll be right back. That they have a magazine called Teenage Gang Debs that updates readers on the family sitcoms, and it has all this little trivia about the various shows. You say a show like The Brady Bunch deserves more respect. Why?
I think it's a really well-written show, and it's like a community thing that we all grew up with these episodes. In Washington, D.C., it was aired twice a day for years when I was a very young kid.
It's a work of art, right?
It's like the perfect show. It has 6 kids, all different ages. You can relate to any of the kids, and the plots, I think, are really well written and stand up really well today, I think.
Thank you for bringing all this stuff for us. Florence, I'm going to ask you what's going on in your life today.
Well, I would just like to say hi to my 4 wonderful children who make me think I'm a good mother. That pleases me, and my step-grandchild, LJ. As you mentioned, I do Country Kitchen on the Nashville Network. We're starting our 8th year, and also I have a wonderful new product that I'm so thrilled about called Young Again. It's a skincare product, and you'll see it advertised on television, and there'll be a number you can call in and get it, and it really works.
Good enough.
Fabulous.
Question, sir.
Yeah. In the last couple of years, I was privileged to see Charlotte Rae starring off-Broadway and Barry Williams starring on Broadway. I wanted to ask them, do you prefer acting in front of a camera or in front of an audience?
I love it all. I mean, I love it all. The important thing is that God gave me a gift, and I try to work with it and make it better and better. And then what could be better than to share it, no matter what medium, right?
Take a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, I'm a famous Seamus, and most people don't know your name.
Harry is now touring with the National Company of City of Angels. What happened to the dog Tiger?
He wanted too much money and too many episodes. Simple. Fired him.
Tiger got squished on the way to work. He was hit by a truck, and the trainer came in with a dog that he picked up at the pound, and no one could understand why he wouldn't follow direction. So we ended up taking his collar and nailing the collar down to the set, and then putting him in the collar so he wouldn't move and we'd get the take.
My question's for Barry and Florence. Florence, when you were approached with this book, was it something that you were interested in doing, or you thought maybe I just want to leave the past alone and not bother with it? Or were you glad to do this?
Well, I'm always glad to help anyone. I hope this book is a big success for Barry. Like Barry, I feel so proud of the Brady Bunch, and you know, it's like having a favorite relative. It's a part of my past. I love it.
Florence, I just want to ask you, or comment rather, I've enjoyed your work in films, TV, commercials, but nothing's been said about that beautiful voice of yours that I don't hear enough of. Any plans for the future?
Well, I sing all the time. I travel around the country all the time. I do, well, I love you. Well, excuse me.
You'll have to go to her. Go ahead.
I love you, I really do.
Take a break. We'll be right back.
Of Sally's show for only $19.95. Call 1-800-FOR-SALLY. 1-800-FOR-SALLY for video cassettes only. For a transcript, send $3 to 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. Or call 303-831-9000.
What's neat is the good news, the people who are doing well. Growing Up Brady, there you are. That's the reason we all got together, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Some members of our audience will receive, and a promotional fee has been provided by
Her husband was so happy when they had a baby. Should she tell him it isn't his? Wives who had their lovers' babies, next on A Hugh.
Today at 4.